Welcome. You're listening or watching to the latest episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. And although as soon as I say that, I think, you know what, guys, it might not be the latest. Because you might listen, the person listening to this could be listening to it next year, which case it wouldn't be the latest. So you are listening to this episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by Mark Warner. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing awesome today, sir. I hope you're doing well as well.
Yes, indeed. A little, you might hear a little raspiness to my voice because a little under the weather, but I'm doing pretty well. And then also joined by good longtime friend of the show, Nick Tabor. Nick, how are you?
Better than I deserve and feeling amazing, man. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. So we're here to have a fun chat, but before we get there, I want to make sure to let all of our audience know that we at Whistlekick do a lot of stuff, and we'd love to have you join us on that journey. Maybe you're going to join us by going to whistlekick.com to purchase something, whether it's a t-shirt or a hat or a training program, or come to one of our events that we do. Don't forget, if you do purchase something, most things you can purchase with a discount using the code podcast15 and save yourself some money, which would be great. You can also go to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com and find out all of the stuff about this episode and every other episode we've done. We've got transcripts there. You can browse through and see all of the hundreds and hundreds of people that we've had on the show. We are gearing up to get ready for episode 1000, which will be coming out in a few weeks. So be on the lookout for that live stream event. And then lastly, I want to ask you, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video itself, leave a comment on it. All of that stuff really, really, really helps. It helps us a lot with our numbers, and it lets us grow, and we certainly appreciate it very much. And then join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Whistlekick is where you can help make the show happen. So here we are to enjoy a fun conversation, and we're here to talk about being underestimated in the martial arts. Now, Nick, I'm going to throw it to you because you brought this as a topic idea, specifically with Mark being on the recording with us as well. So let's talk about being underestimated.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the martial arts, and it was a very unique situation. You know, on paper, I probably shouldn't be here. You know, I grew up with cerebral palsy and, with, afflictions in my right side. So when you go through and they go, kids would say, Tabor can do something? He can do that. Oh, that's cool. And when we were growing up, right, the ideal martial artist that we always saw was, and I was a quote from a mutual friend of all three of us who said this, that, we expected that a martial artist would be the guy that would take out 6 guys in an alleyway and not break a sweat. But the reality is the martial artist is the person whose car breaks down and they don't lose it. That's the real deal. That's our reality right now. Or something doesn't go wrong and then we pivot, or if something goes wrong, and then we pivot to the right direction. That's where it is. So when we're underestimated as martial artists, I think at first it's like, oh, don't mess with that guy. And then, when you look at it and you go, no, you can really trust this guy because, he or she has knowledge, but it helps us blend in society, if that's a good term about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Mark, what about you? What about your thoughts being underestimated in the martial arts?
Well, I remember a time way back when, this is early on in my training, somebody was going to deny me a black belt because I was unable to do a split. So I'm not quite sure what that has to do. Being able to do a split has to do with being a great martial artist. But that's just one of the little things that I have seen through my time. Now I am where I am now, and I'm teaching a lot of children, and I'm trying to make sure that they never underestimate themselves. I have a few that like to do that for this, that, and the other reason. I'm like, no, look at this. I have one young man, and he's always been very hesitant and very reticent about his abilities. He's on my double team, and I've taken a lot of movies of him doing some outstanding stuff. So being underestimated is not practical in any martial arts.
Yeah, and I think it's an important distinction that we sometimes might be underestimated by others, and we can't control that. That's something beyond our control. But I think it is important to understand that we can, but shouldn't, underestimate ourselves, right? We can't control what other people think and or feel. And in a lot of cases, we can't control what other people do, but we can control ourselves. And I think, Mark, that's a really important distinction about not underestimating ourselves.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I think that that's a really good point as well, and especially like myself, I teach a lot of people who have different disabilities. That has become my very big strong suit, and I've had a lot of people who have underestimated themselves a lot. And the way I teach is to show very practical applications. Like right now, I onboarded 6 students recently, and they did not know a single thing about martial arts. Like, we are coming up to, and this has a point to it, it might sound like a tangent, but we are coming to a point now where people do not know who Bruce Lee was. That it's just a difference there, that something's new. They're going, wait, I can't change somebody who's trying to choke me. I can't turn that around. Oh, yes, you can. Let me show you how to do that. And, where the 3 of us have grown up with martial arts is that there are things, I think we all have something that, that has held us back and was what brought us into it in the first place. So the way that I show it is, like, I tell this story where, my sensei never let me give up on anything. Therefore, it produced a martial arts attitude for me. Where I would get into something and it would be like, I got laid off in 2020, from a very high paying job that I had. And now I had to go, but I'm scared to death of shaking hands. And I heard him in the back of my head going, well, what the heck are you going to do? Retire? You can't do that, so, well, go back to the dojo days. Wednesday night was sparring night. That always is the same thing. So you have to get on the ring and you have to spar. But are you going to stink at it? Yes. Are you going to get better at it? Well, hopefully, but learn to live in the suck and keep moving, and keep moving. So that translated to, oh, I'm not the best fighter right now, but learn to do better. And then when I get laid off, it's like, okay, I'm going to do job interviews that are not that great. So I'm underestimating myself, but then where I'm like, oh, this is fair. So there's the underestimation. So you know what? Go back to those lessons I learned in the dojo. I'm going to suck at this right now because I haven't interviewed in 14 years. Yeah. On the other end. And now I'm going to be able to move forward there. So that's the attitude that comes along.
And I think it's important, like, we're talking about not underestimating ourselves, but having a realistic expectation of what you are comfortable doing, right? You mentioned not being comfortable for a while shaking people's hands, right? Okay, you lost some of those skills of, being in the workplace or whatever, but that's not like they're not going to come back. That's not an underestimating yourself. Like, it's okay to be realistic. I am in a few weeks having surgery on my foot. I'm probably not going to be great at doing jumping spinning kicks anymore. I'm certainly not as good at doing them as I was in my 20s. But that's not me underestimating myself. And I think that's an important distinction, right? Knowing your own limits is fine, is one thing. But I think underestimating what you can do, I think, is different. Mark, would you agree?
Definitely. One of the words I do not allow at my school is can't. We don't say that here. Now, I was reminded last weekend by a fine gentleman that there's a better word, yet.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably, yes, Andrew, probably the strongest word in the English language. And it's the second time I've heard it from you, but now I'm adapting it. So can't is not used here. Now, when I'm teaching at my school, I teach from 3 to 70 something in my martial arts classes. So when I'm teaching in my martial arts classes, a lot of times I'll have my adult classes, I'll have 18-year-old to 70-year-olds. And I'll say, okay, we're going to do these kicks. And a lot of times, a lot of the kicks, like some of your spinning back kicks, jump spinning back kicks, are for the younger ones. Mm-hmm. And I'll look at the people my age, which is 66, and I'll say, and yes, sometimes I teach us things that we may not want to do on the street, which I believe isn't as important as teaching everything that we would want to use. I mean, if some technique is not comparable to my style of motion, we don't want to do it. It's not underestimating ourselves, it's pointing ourselves in the proper direction. I myself, right at this time, I'm trying to get through it. I don't do too many jump spinning kicks right now. However, even my top guy, 28 years old, he's like, no, you can still take me, I think. So when we get the thought like this, that we can put ourselves in these positions, it's a great thing. So that's it. And I'll come back because I have more about other people underestimating us as well.
So the other thing I was thinking of is sometimes, and we probably have all had this happen, or other people listening may have had this happen to them. When people find out that you do martial arts, they want to challenge you, they want to test you, right? Yes. And I have found that, being like, oh, no, I'm not that good, like, works very well. But I would imagine, like, again, I'm thinking of myself. If it happens to me, for example, in a few weeks, I just had surgery on my foot. Like, no. It's like they're gonna underestimate me because I have a bum foot. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if I get attacked on the street that somebody underestimates me. I actually want them to, because they're not going to take me seriously. And I thought we could spend some time talking about that.
Okay. So, I've had that, that example multiple times in my life that, Tabor does martial arts, and, how, one thing I remember back in grade school, Tabor does martial arts, how does he punch? And, at one point in my life, it would be, let me show you. And, like, okay, I'll do that. And I would be the aggressor in that situation. But as I'm 40 now, it's, my first reaction is, you do martial arts and then there's a challenge. I bet I can beat you up. My response is not likely. Not likely that that's going to happen. And then see where it lies, because I find that, and this is more internal martial arts than external, is that when somebody is being the aggressor towards me, they're very, very emotional. And when they get emotional, it almost becomes comical to me in a way. That when they do that, they go, okay, and then I'm concentrating on my breathing as they're trying to move around me.
Interesting.
And I'm just, and everything else is slow.
That's interesting. I handle it the exact opposite way. If someone comes up to me and tells me they can beat me up, I usually say, you know what? You're probably right. Yep, you probably could. Yeah. So it's interesting, totally different. Mark, how about yourself?
Well, in my town, I think I was very fortunate because I have a big window in front of my school. And I think everybody kind of knows me here. So a lot of guys in town really don't underestimate me. A lot of the guys in town aren't quite sure what I do, but they don't bother me at all. I mean, it just does not happen. I walk down the street, it does not happen. In fact, I'm right next to a alcoholic establishment, and if they come in, look around, they go, shake their hands, they sit down, fall asleep in a chair, then they wake up and leave. So, and for myself, if I go somewhere, like if I go to Boston, I'm sure it happens to you guys. If you go somewhere where you're not known and people don't know you, the confidence you have from martial arts exudes from the body. So you walk down the street, and not many people underestimate you. If nobody, they all respect you. In fact, one time I had to go to Boston I had to go to a court for a reason. I went to the wrong courthouse. I was supposed to go to like civil court or something, and I went to the other one. There was some interesting people there. I just walked through and said, "Where am I?" They're like, "Oh, you're in the wrong place." I said, "Thank you," and went to the other place. No problem at all, because you don't get that when you exude the confidence the martial arts gives you. Nobody that the people that do not know you will not underestimate you. They'll like, his head's up, his chin's up, his eyes are all over. Especially my eyes are all over.
I mean, and we've talked about that on the show, Jeremy and I, in the past, about not about Mark's eyes going all over the place, but about how just training gives you confidence, right? And that it exudes when you're out and about. But again, I would say that in an altercation, I still want people to underestimate me. I don't know where I want to go with that, but for those that do want to get into a physical altercation, I don't want them to necessarily think that I can do all of this stuff. I want them to think I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't know anything.
Yes.
You're just the bald guy.
Yeah.
Walking in the street.
Yeah, just the bald guy. This looks very different if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
but I think when people do underestimate me, it's a matter of just it allows me to channel in on where they are emotionally, and there I can leverage the fight there. Exactly. It doesn't happen too often in reality, because if I'm presented as a martial artist 99% of the time lately, I'm the teacher. But there are some times where it does come, somebody does come up to me, and I'm 6'2", and I'm a pretty well-built dude, but if they do come up to me and see something or sees that, they're like, okay, now what do we do? And and Mark's right. We do kind of exude, and Andrew, you said it as well. We do exude it because we train.
Sure.
We train and we try.
Yeah.
But I think, at some point where if 99, I don't know the exact statistic, but I mean, most of a fight, at least over 50%, I think you guys would agree, is mental more than physical, right?
Yeah. Majority, sure.
Yeah.
I think if somebody on the street overestimates you, it's going to be one or two reasons. It's either going to be alcohol or ego. And the ego goes everywhere. And if they have that type of ego, you got it made, because our ego is like, well, they're gonna underestimate you. They're gonna think you're a bald guy who can easily be picked on. You're gonna look them in the eye, and they're probably gonna back off to begin with.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna be hands like, oh, please don't bother you, it's gonna be over for them.
Yeah. So we want the other people to underestimate us,
right?
Yes.
But we don't want to underestimate ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's that's the crux of what we're getting at today. Is that I want people to underestimate me, but I don't want to underestimate myself.
Yes.
I think that's an important distinction.
Right.
Yeah. What else do we have? Is there anything else? Mark, you mentioned you had something else, I thought you said.
Yes. Did you want to go into the aspect of other martial artists who underestimate us as martial artists? Or would you rather leave that for another?
No, I mean we can.
Because it ends up being much to their chagrin, much of their downfall. I've known quite a few people who have underestimated me and sort of brushed me off. Well, I know in 2 instances, I would or could have been running a school with their name on it, which isn't happening because they underestimated myself. I do have scoliosis and I walk kind of funny, but if you see my students, you see what I'm about. I think a teacher, you see the teacher from the students.
Oh, for sure.
A friend told me once. A farmer said, "My crops, are they good? I don't know. Go look at my crops. That'll tell you if I'm a good farmer."
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you know if you're a good martial artist.
Yeah.
So when people look at you, and you say, "Well, I don't know. You got something. You got something. You got something." They're not looking past it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you should always look past it to find out what's on the inside, see how they are. I think I'll leave that one there.
Well, and I think it's interesting too that we as martial, and I'm talking we as in Mark, Nick, and myself. Like I can't speak for every martial artist in the world, but we work and strive hard to make sure that we don't have an ego, that we take everyone at their at face value, and are happy working with other martial artists and other schools and other styles and things like that. And I think it's unfortunate when you get other martial artists who don't feel the same way, and they, Mark, as you said, they may underestimate those other schools or those other people, but who are they ultimately hurting?
Yes, very much so.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Nick, what were you gonna jump in there?
So can I jump in on one other point, because there's a similar to that I want to bounce off it. We have the digital world now. So going from where when I grew up it was you flipping the phone book, look for karate dojos,
Mm-hmm.
and try to find it, and now going for word of mouth, going to that, and then finding somebody's reels on YouTube or on TikTok, and I produced a few of a demo that I did actually at Mark's school.
Yep.
And, then got a ton of comments and using, phrases I don't want to use here. And, my urge was at first, okay, I'm going to fire a response to every single one of these people. But then I realized these are the keyboard warriors.
It's not going to change. You're not going to change anybody's opinion.
No, but these are the people, and then you can also look and see when they comment. So they look at 10 seconds into it and then they make an assumption.
Yeah.
Or they do things, and all this other stuff that happens when you make an assumption as well. I'll leave that part of that. But I think realizing when you do something nowadays, we want to advertise, we want to grow our school, we want to put something out there, and then we're going to get flack back right away.
Yeah.
And and do that. But like I got something locally where I was teaching, and then said it's wrong for you to charge for self-defense classes because people need it. And it's, well, I need to eat as much as you do.
Sure.
And it got into a back and forth. But I realized they're giving an opinion that doesn't matter to you.
Yes.
And, we could underestimate ourselves because of an opinion that we get on a Facebook comment or whatever else, and then it could devalue it. But when you realize that, it still keeps our inner martial artist strong.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that because I wanted to put that point out there.
Yeah.
What helps? What helps me with all those comments, Nick, on TikTok, especially on TikTok? Delete. That's delete. That's delete.
Yeah.
It makes me feel very calm, very collect. If you do get a chance sometime, go to that page and see what they're about. Because I got to tell you, all these, the ones with the negative comments usually don't do martial arts of any type.
Mm-hmm.
So let's delete.
They do not. No.
Yeah. All right, audience, what did we miss? Have you been underestimated in your martial art? Has it? How did that turn out? Do you underestimate yourself? I know. I can almost guarantee there are martial artists listening that underestimate themselves. Don't do it. Let other people underestimate you. That's okay, but don't underestimate yourself. Any other closing words, guys, before we close out here?
I think we nailed it, man.
Be strong.
Be strong, man.
Believe in yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. You can reach me at andrew@whistlekick.com if you have anything for Nick or Mark. Shoot it to me if you don't already know how to get in touch with those guys. Don't forget to check out whistlekick.com for all the stuff we do. Please consider being a Patreon subscriber. It might not seem like giving the company the podcast $5 a month will make a difference. It does make a difference. It's less than a cup of coffee, as Mark is holding up his mug right now. Buy us a cup of coffee once a month. It makes a difference. And you're not just giving us a $5 and getting nothing in return. We promise you'll be getting behind the scenes stuff. You'll get to know who's coming out on next episodes. For example, you would have known that next week's episode, as we're recording this, you'd know who it was already. I mean, now you know who it is because it came out on Monday, and you're getting this on Thursday. So you know, but you would have known already. And so we really would appreciate it. So please join our Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. Use the code podcast15 if you're checking out anything at whistlekick.com. And on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Hit the notification so you know every time an episode comes out. So you think we can do this ending round robin? Me, Mark, and Nick. Ready? Here we go. Train hard.
Smile.
And have a great day.
Yeah.